Hey everyone, this is Don of 1 and Mekkah.
Hey.
And we are bringing to you Chapter 8 of my Fire Emblem 5 Paragon Mode 0% Girls playthrough.
Chapter 8 is the end of the Mancer saga that we've been in for so long now. And finally we have access to the preparations menu where we can trade things beforehand and pick what units to field and which ones to leave out. In most Fire Emblems you also have the ability to rearrange where your units start. And in this game you cannot really rearrange it because it's based upon the order that your units are in their slots. So there's nothing we can really do about it for now. We can also buy iron weapons in the armory in the preparations menu, but we're not going to make use of that. But we do make use of the armory to sell stuff. So overall you can say that FE5's preparations menus are pretty strange.
Yeah, there are two other oddities about FE5's preparations menu that you're probably not familiar with if you played the future games. One of them is that you can't use items in the menu, much like in FE6, because that wasn't invented until FE7. So for example, Saphy, who just used the Paragon manual right now, has to use the item in the middle of the map as opposed to within the preparation screen, and these things end up wasting a turn. Now, we're not going to have like 33 boosts to use like we did in FE6, so that's not going to be that much of an issue, but it's still something worth pointing out. The other oddity is that in this game, and only this game, there is a minimum deployment limit on top of a maximum deployment limit. So in this chapter, for example, you're allowed to deploy up to 8 units, but you can't deploy fewer than 6 units. And the reason for this presumably is that in the future escape map, for example, you're not allowed to deploy only Leaf and Karin and then escape with just those 2 units without worrying about leaving anyone else behind. So that's probably the reason why the minimum deployment limit exists.
You might have seen a familiar face if you've paid attention. Orson has rejoined us and he is ready to kick some butt once again, and we also have access to Halvan and Ronan in the preparations menu. And another familiar face on the map is Marty. He is one of the enemy brigands and he'll be recruited at some point. Marty right now has no weapons, so his AI actually tries to go for an armory that only sells X's, because the enemy AI in this game is quote unquote smart and tries to buy weapons. You can abuse this if you like steal one of the enemy's weapons and they will try to go to an armory, buy something new, you can steal it, and so on and so on. And also we have Karin, a new cavalier. Karin in this playthrough is going to be nothing special. For casual players he can be alright because his growth and pursuit critical are pretty stunning, but his bases aren't so great and his weapon ranks aren't either. So he's really just good for being mounted in this chapter right here, but otherwise we're not going to make much use of him.
So my personal opinion, which may or may not be well known to the community, is that Karin is garbage. The only benefit of using him, at least in this chapter, is his starting position is quite favorable. It makes it easy for us to rescue Nana and drop her near the front lines where Fergus and Finn are going to be, because Nana's starting position in this map is pretty bad, and there's really no good way to move her forward without a rescue chain involving Karin. Now, this chapter is pretty uneventful. There aren't a whole lot of enemies standing in between the starting point and the siege point. Most of them prefer to chill out on top of tiles that we may or may not want to go to, such as the houses or the vendor or armory. There is a guidance chapter following this one, and in order to get the guidance chapter you have to capture the boss, not kill, but capture the boss within 15 turns, otherwise he finds a dragon out of nowhere and becomes a Draco Knight that you can't capture. Capturing this boss is not as easy as capturing Liftus was back in chapter 2X, because this boss actually has weapons, so you have to actually kind of kill him to capture him. And as we pointed out before, thrones and gates in this game give an extra plus 10 defense, plus 20 avoid, and on top of the penalty that capturing units get to their strength and skill stats, that makes capturing this guy a real pain in the butt.
For this boss kill we need Finn to be promoted, not just because the extra stats help in combat, but he needs the extra point of movement to even reach him to begin with. Speaking of promotion, Saphy has also been spamming the physics staff in this chapter, and she took the Paragon manual, so you can guess that we really need to fast forward her reaching level 10. There's not enough time to get there just by using heal and nothing else, so that's why she's using physics seemingly unnecessarily. It's kind of hard to find her things to heal in this chapter sometimes because the enemies have really bad accuracy. A lot of them use poison weapons. The benefit to us for these poison weapons is that if they do hit you, then you do get hurt every turn by a little bit. That doesn't matter, but that's Saphy heal a little bit.
Yeah, I've had several attempts in this chapter ruined because the poison weapons are so inaccurate. On turn 1, I have to count on at least one of my allied units getting hit so that Saphy can heal that unit on turn 2. because in order for Saphy to reach level 10 and promote by the time that we want her to promote, she basically has to be healing every single opportunity that she gets, and usually we can't heal in turn 1 because no one gets injured then. The only threat that we have to worry about on this chapter is the enemy warrior that's near the gate. He's over on the left hand side of the screen. Theoretically, he could one-hit KO Karin because he has pretty high strength and a poison bow that does effective damage against her, but for some reason he always attacks Leaf instead. And not only that, Leaf didn't have weapon equipped so that he wouldn't get doubled, but he could have been a free capture, but the warrior decided not to do that either, so I don't know why that happens.
I guess we should be thankful that the warrior is so bloodthirsty, because if he'd captured Leaf, we'd have to get him back and kill the warrior, and we really don't have the manpower to do that. For this boss kill strategy, no reliable way exists, but what we have comes pretty close. Fergus tips at him with the fire sword for some meaty damage, and even if he crits, he doesn't kill, so we have no fear of failing the capture objective. And then Finn needs to crit at least once with 25 crit with his 2 Brave Lance hits. They both receive plenty of bonuses for their accuracy not to be too big of an issue. Leaf supports Finn, Karin supports Fergus, and then they both also receive Charm from Nana, and Nana also gives a support bonus to Finn.
So before Leaf ends the map, we have to complete some of the side objectives. Karin visits a house for a night proof, and Marty goes to the vendor to buy 7 door keys. He cannot buy more than 7 door keys because in this game you cannot buy more items than you can hold in your inventory. They don't get sent to the convoy. There is a house in the bottom right corner of the map that contains a luck ring that we had to pass up because we can't get to it. Would have been pretty helpful because even though luck is a dump stat, it would have helped hit rates and avoid rates. So that's chapter 8 completed in 4 turns. We'll see you next time.
See ya.